What's up, y'all? It's Austin Johnson.
And I'm Geo Baker.
This is Season 2, Episode 1 of the Are You Listening podcast, brought to you by Beyond the Big Ten. Back for another season of the Are You Listening podcast, brought to you by Beyond the Big Ten. Geo, what is good?
My guy, what's up? We back, baby. We back. It's been a little minute.
It's been a while, man. How have you been since last season, man? There's been a lot of news. It's been a lot of changes in both of our lives, man. But what's been good on your side?
Man, just like you said, just a lot of new stuff going on. Obviously, I still got the training. It's been great working with all the kids. It's been steadily growing, which has been really cool for me to see, and just knowing that I'm making an impact with them on in basketball and life has been dope, bro. And then Night Society, what we got going on over there has been really cool too. Been partnering with more brands, more businesses, been having our events, and obviously you've been involved in all of our events too with the Scarlet Open and the Night Fest, so that's been really cool. And then I just recently started my foundation too, so the Geo Baker Go Beyond Foundation, which is going to be an expansion of the training in a way, to be able to help kids who, normally can't afford, some of the training sessions, be able to go into some of these communities and, try to make an impact there too. I think everything it's just been about making an impact. But I know you got a lot of stuff going on too. So what's been going on, bro?
First and foremost, before getting into that, man, love to see it and watch it and the development, man. You the busiest guy in all of the Garden State, and every single time I refresh my feed, I feel like there's a new Geo Baker endeavor. And tip of the hat to you, man, because being an entrepreneur is not easy, sure. Especially in today's environment, man. Sure. But just enjoying life, man. I think that we had a nice discussion previously about trying to be more intentional with this one life that we have to live. So made some decisions to leave, certain spaces, if you will, from a professional standpoint. And really excited just to stay around the family that is Rutgers basketball and see another exciting year. Got another season underway from a broadcasting standpoint. Got some stuff coming up with the Big Ten Network, which is really exciting, and just took some time off to travel, man. Been in 4 different countries over the last year. Had a chance to see Japan, had a chance to go to Portugal, had a chance to go to the Netherlands, man. So really blessed to get an alternative perspective, but locked in for this season, man, because you know how it goes once college basketball gets here. And they got a brand new Rutgers basketball team, man, with a bunch of new parts, man. So excited to dive in and see how this team progresses throughout the year.
Man, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I think they have a good mix of veteran guys, but then also, you got some transfers, you got the new guys, so it's fresh energy in a way. I was saying I forget who I was talking to about this, but I felt at times with our team when I was playing, we had times where we were just a little too comfortable because we were so used to being in the Big Ten. We were used to, we did make the tournament a couple of times, and we felt like we belonged. When you have these fresh guys coming in, they haven't been there yet. It's a different type of hunger, I think, in my opinion. You probably, you know the same feeling too, being an athlete yourself. When you first coming in, it's a different type of hunger than when you've already been there. So I'm excited to see how the season progresses.
It's crazy that nowadays, again, we keep talking about the new norm and the expectations for the team all in all, but just to rehash about where we were last year and how we got into where we are present day, you got no more Paul Mulcahy. Cam Spencer's moved on. Paul Mulcahy's transferred to Washington. Cam Spencer transferred to UConn. You got the graduation of Caleb McConnell, who is doing his thing with the Oklahoma City Thunder in that organization as well. Am I missing anybody from last year's team?
Off the top of my head, I don't think you are. Obviously you got guys like Jalen Miller, Dean Reber, who left as well, and those are guys who knew the system and knew how Coach Peichel wanted to play, and how Rutgers basketball usually performs. So those are some other guys as well who were part of the last year's nucleus.
For sure, man, and the injection of either seasoned veterans that had come into the program this season, and a lot of freshmen energy too, which are going to be an integral part to how this team is able to perform on any given night. But starting off, Noah Fernandez spent some time at UMass. And he's going to be he's going to have to carry a heavy burden as a leader in the locker room. Austin Williams, Jeremiah Williams transferring in respectively, and Austin playing some really big minutes early on in the career. And then you get to some of the younger players and the freshman infusion in Jermichael Davis and Gavin Griffiths. Man, he's been exciting. Nonetheless already this season.
They both are, man, and it's. Again, that fresh energy, that hunger, the thing that I love the most about those two, you have no idea because they both had some good games, they had some bad games too, to start off the season, which is expected for freshmen. You have no idea though by looking at their body language. Like Jermichael Davis, watching him play defense, you have no clue that he's 1 for 10 or 5 for 10 or whatever his numbers are throughout the game. Gavin, same thing. When he misses a shot, there is zero thought about taking the next one. And I think that's like the most impressive thing to me as a fellow athlete, because I never mastered that. Like that was something that I kind of figured out my fifth year. I'm talking about my fifth year. These guys are freshmen. I kind of figured it out my fifth year, but never like truly had a grasp on just like next shot mentality or, I'm not going to let my shooting impact my game at all. Like these guys have it down pat. Like it's not something that you even have to mention to them, which I think is really, really impressive for a young guy. I think that's one of the toughest things to overcome as an athlete.
For sure. Couldn't agree more. Are you given any feedback? Have you had a chance to interact with any of the guys and bestow any knowledge? I know that you were in your coaching bag doing a phenomenal job with that.
I try not to say too much in terms of like a coaching standpoint, just because they obviously have their coaches, they have their little bubble, which is Rutgers basketball. And a big thing that Coach Pike always talked about with our teams was don't let the outside noise affect what we have going on. And it's the truth, it's the reality. At the end of the day, Coach Pike and his staff see these guys every single day, and they're the ones who really know what's going on. So I try to stay away from that. But in terms of just like little things, I mean, me and Gavin were playing one-on-one in the summer, little things like that. And, just seeing their competitive nature, their spirit. And, whenever they do ask me a question about, how to impact winning in other ways other than just scoring and certain little things like that, I do always try to, give my best answer. But then I always say at the end, ask TJ Thompson or ask Coach Peichel, because at the end of the day, that's who's going to be your coach too. So, but it's been great getting to interact with those guys and get a chance to meet them. And I'm sure you've had some interactions too. I know you guys haven't had a road game yet, where I know that's usually the time where you get a chance to actually sit down and talk with some of those guys for team meal.
One day you're a player in the program and going to tutoring and going to class, and the next day you're the noise. You're in the media, man, and you're doing podcasts like this.
It's crazy.
It's wild, bro. But I definitely respect any coach that's able to keep the focus, as Jalen Hurts says, the main thing, which is winning basketball games. And you got to be completely locked in, because if you ride the wave of media attention and people saying you're the greatest thing and people saying you're the worst thing, then it's just too turbulent. The ebbs and flows of a college basketball season, you got to remain even keel.
100%.
So just to rehash where we are in the season, man, are you up until this point? They just competed against Georgetown last night, but 3-1 all in all. Started off with probably one of the more competitive games against Princeton. And they got a squad, man, coming off of a Sweet 16 appearance where, they competed and beat some really big teams, Missouri, University of Missouri, and Arizona. And they carried that momentum into this year. They got some guys in Matalako and Caden Pierce who came out ready in that game. And RU is still filling themselves out and figuring out what their offensive approach is going to be as well. And, first game, neutral site, it's okay, I think, honestly, to be able to take those type of losses early on in the season.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough game to schedule for game one. Again, talking about the young guys, the transfers, Coach Peichel usually has that first game at Jersey Mike's Arena. He usually has it at home. Where you're just a little bit more comfortable. You're just a little bit more comfortable. So that was a tough first game for them. Princeton's a very good basketball team. And like you said, Rutgers was still figuring it out, still trying to figure out the rotation, still trying to figure out, how guys play with each other, and still learning the chemistry. And that's something that no matter how many times you practice, no matter how many times even a scrimmage is never the same as an actual game. It just feels different. So I think that's something that they're still figuring out. And it was, like you said, it was a good experience for them. They got a good film out of it and they learned from it. And I think that fast forwarding all the way to this Georgetown game, they look so much better. I think the biggest thing for me was the guard play. Like the guards look more aggressive, and that's what's going to start opening up everything for everyone else.
Yeah, Georgetown has definitely been incremental progress, which you want to see.
Yeah.
Just getting better, 1% better, 1% better each and every day. In between there, you had some big-time performances. RU was able to come out and get back in the winning column against Boston University in game number 2. The Gavin Griffiths arrival at Jersey Mike's Arena, home opening night, a 25-piece. Kid was mixing it up.
Man, he was put on a show. He was put on a show, bro. I mean, it looked effortless, honestly. And when I was watching from the stands too, I remember the scoreboard actually wasn't working, so we had no idea what he had. It felt like he had like 16 or 18, and then we see at the end he had 25, and it was like, dang, like it didn't seem like he was overshooting. It didn't seem like, it was an efficient 25, a quiet, efficient 25, and he did it with ease. It was all simple plays, and obviously super impressive, and that's the type of talent that he has, though. Like I wasn't surprised at all. Like I said, I was playing against him one-on-one all summer. I've seen him practice. I've seen him in the gym. I see him in the gym late nights, which is, it's hard for a freshman. Your first year on campus, you're tired from these practices. You're tired from lifting. You're tired from school. All the obligations that you have as a student athlete, and he's still, finding the time and the determination to still get in the gym late night and get extra shots up. And he's doing this the day before the games. He's doing this, right after practice. That's not easy for a freshman, but so he understands everything he needs to do to perform at a high level.
Yeah, learning to be a Division I basketball player is no easy feat, especially coming from a much more sheltered environment for any high school basketball player. You're out on your lonesome, and you got to figure it out quick and in a hurry. And I like the response, man. In addition to him being very efficient, he scored at multiple levels. He got out in transition. He showed the tray ball. He has breakdown ability. He uses that height differential better than many players I've seen that have been in college basketball for multiple years at 6'9", man. So thinking about, what's on the horizon in the future and some of these players that are coming in future classes, the future is very, very bright. One other thing that really stuck out to me is Andre Hyatt has just been steady Eddie. That seasoned veteran presence, and he just gets better each and every game, knowing where he can add value.
Yeah, man. I mean, again, like going back to the mix of these guys. I mean, he's the perfect veteran that you want on the team. He's been through it. He's been through battles. He's been to the tournament. He understands the system. He knows exactly what it takes to get to a certain point, to reach their goals. And he's a vet now. You know what I mean? Like he's not. There's nothing that he hasn't seen. There's nothing he hasn't seen yet in college basketball. So all of that gives you a lot more confidence. The more years you play in college basketball, the more confident you are because you've seen everything.
Yep.
So he's been super efficient and just talking to him too, his energy it seems different this year. He's just has a very confident approach about him.
Yeah, for sure. Game number 3, Bryant was on the bill. RU takes them down 66-57, led by Andre Hyatt, who we were just talking about, 19 points on 5 made field goals. Cliff Amore, who's been, quiet offensively, but he's done his thing, being a good presence on the defensive side, made really big winning plays, securing crucial rebounding. Derek Simpson has also added a new dimension to his game, playmaking, taking on defensive responsibilities, and, all these different changes in the individual lineup, too, with Antoine Woolfolk being injected after Princeton for his physicality and his ability to be able to rebound at a high clip as well. He's got a lot of pieces, and the crazy thing about it, and I wanted to get your take on this, no Mawat Mag yet. So what is the ceiling for this
Man,
group?
yeah.
Once he actually is
Ooh,
injected back into the lineup.
ooh, man. I mean, ceiling. That's a tough question. I like to get to December first before I want to say ceiling. I definitely want to see them play a Big Ten basketball game. I think for me, the thing that is really gonna make or break this team, or the X factor, or you will, I think is the guard play. I think it's the
Hmm.
guard play. The games where they struggled, the guard and listen, they're talented. Like Derek, talented. Noah, talented. J. Mike, extremely talented. When they're not aggressive, when they are too selfless in a way where maybe they're just trying to swing the basketball, or they're only looking at Cliff on the post. I think it hurts the team in a way. Derek should be putting pressure on his defender at all times. Noah can put pressure on his defender at all times, and when they do that, it actually opens up everything else up. Like how we mentioned, Cliff right now has been kind of quiet offensively. The guards need to create. They need to put Cliff in some pick and roll and get easy lobs, or
Funny that you say that.
little dump offs.
Funny
Yeah,
that you say
little
that,
dump
because I
offs.
said that to Jerry yesterday. Was the biggest differential
Yeah,
this
man.
season is there's like 6 to 8 points in his clip that he was getting the last 2 years out of the
Yeah,
creation of a Paul, the
yeah,
creation of Caleb McConnell that is just absent in this season, and everything has just been
yep,
so difficult. He's exerting so much
yeah,
energy with his back to the basket, trying to get buckets, and he's the
yeah.
main focal point on opposing team scouting reports.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and Derek too. Derek had a solid year last year, and he has some buzz to his name now, and it's different. It's different when you come in. You're higher on that scouting report. And Cliff, obviously, he was
Hmm.
already at the top of that scouting report, but now he's seeing double teams. You're trying to run it through him to the post. He has to pass out of there pretty quickly, because everyone is, like you said, he's a focal point. Everyone is very focused on him. So it's just an adjustment period. I'm not worried at all about Derek or Noah's play, or J Mike's play. I think that, again, they're all extremely talented guards. But how are you doing it consistently, and being aggressive without being selfish? Like, being aggressive doesn't make you a selfish basketball player. If you're aggressive, it'll open up stuff for Gavin. Gavin will get an open shot. Andre will get an open shot. Cliff will get that dump off. And then now the defense has to adjust, and that's when you get your layups and easy buckets. So I think that's going to be the X factor for me, is just the guard play.
Love that. Yeah, that's a really good segue in regards to what is under the radar for RU. You talked about what the X factor is from your perspective. It's, I think, those guards and the maturation throughout the season of the freshmen. I think is going to be my X factor, because they've led the way from an offensive standpoint,
Yeah,
at least leading back to the last contest where both Gavin and J Mike combined for almost 20 points against the Georgetown brand. As you
yeah,
get into the second part of the season, you're no longer a freshman. You're already going into being seasoned enough to be considered a sophomore, and a lot of the things that phased you on early in a career, in your playing days, in your first season, you don't even blink at anymore. So I think the X factor is going to be Gavin Griffith's influence offensively on this team, because I think he showcased that even at his very young age, he's the most talented offensive player on this team overall, in ability,
for sure.
and his ability to mix it up in different ways. If he can get that more consistent going into Big Ten play, then again, you talk about the possibilities of having some of the other players come back. You can be looking at a completely different team and expectations heading into Big Ten play.
For sure. No, definitely agree. I mean, he's if he can be consistent the way he looked against BU, again, just how it opens up stuff for other guys too. Now you have to focus so much on Gavin. Cliff's life gets a whole lot easier. Derek's life gets a whole lot easier. Andre's life gets a whole lot easier. And now that focus is shifted towards Gavin, and then how can he handle that too, right? Like you were saying, him being mature enough to be able to handle that new pressure, and him being mature enough to be able to handle him being at the top of the scouting report. And that's where it's going to get difficult for a freshman. That's where it gets tough, especially come Big Ten play. Big Ten's the best scouted league in the country, like by far. They are going to know. I mean, when I would play, they would call out immediately. If it's in my left hand, step back, right hand, he's driving. You know, they would say it all, and they would scream it right in your face, and then you'd still have to do what they're yelling, and how can you still adjust and still be able to make that move and pull it off? And they know every single play that you're running. I mean, it's just how it goes. So how can he be mature enough to be able to handle all that is 100% going to be an X factor for the team this year.
How about a breakout or a surprise candidate on Rutgers that might be flying under the radar for the common fan that you think still has the potential to surprise some folks this year?
Oh man, I mean, I think J Mike already has. I think he already has. He surprised me, honestly. I didn't know too much about him when he first was coming in, and that's probably just on me. I didn't do enough research, but immediately when I saw them practice, I mean, you could tell he was going to play. I don't think I expected that before the season. I didn't know him, and I knew Noah, I knew Derek, I knew both of them were extremely talented. But this kid is a competitor, pure winner. I mean, if you saw the St. John's exhibition game, the clock's winding down. They had already lost. He's balling, number one, and then they had already lost, and he's still trying to play defense, which led to that little, we won't even call it a scuffle, whatever that was. He was still playing to the final buzzer, and that's the type of mindset that you're gonna need to win games. Like that's super, super important. I think he surprised me, surprised fans already, but he could take it to another level too. I mean, he hasn't even shot it that great yet. He can shoot. He can shoot. He can make plays. He defends, and his energy is big time.
Yeah, I think that what will be a surprise for a lot of folks, considering this roster and the personnel, I'm still interested to see the progression of this twin tower look of Antoine Woolfolk and Cliff Amore. I don't know if you had a chance to see that first game against Princeton live or on TV, but they had a couple of plays where they had great synergy, throwing lobs to one another, high-low looks. They're so athletic and physically gifted that I think that we're only seeing them scratch the surface of being able to not only be dominant forces physically, but showcase a different skill set offensively to take this overall group scoring capabilities to another level. So high hopes as a former big that they'll be able to right that, what's going on in the paint. It's a little congested at the moment because they're still figuring things out.
Exactly, yeah.
And they're going to get Cliff going. So I'm gonna reside on both those dudes and see how they progress over the next couple of games. How about a prediction for the season? And looking at the overall Big Ten conference, make a prediction for the season. Blank can compete in the Big Ten conference. Rutgers can compete in the Big Ten conference and be at the, in the top 5 if this happens. Talk to me.
Man.
Because coming into this season, just to rehash, RU was picked, what was it, 10th in the preseason polls?
I think they may. Was it 10th? Was it 10th? It may have been lower. Was it 10th?
It might have even been lower. Yeah, I might be tripping.
It's either 10 or 12. It's one of those.
10 or 12, sure. In that range, in the bottom half or in the bottom portion.
In the bottom half, for sure. I think they're a top half Big Ten team. How high that is, I mean, it's always so messy. The top half of the Big Ten is always so messy. I think they're a top half Big Ten team if the guards stay aggressive. I think that's the biggest thing for me. And just I love Cliff to death, but how he's going to get his buckets is going to be from these guards' penetration, how they're being aggressive, how they're creating. It's going to open up the floor for him, and that's where you really start to see him thrive and him do what he does. So I think they're a top half Big Ten team as long as the guards stay aggressive. I would love to hear your take on this too, actually.
Yeah, I would say that they're a top half, and even better than that, the upper echelon of the top half if they take care of the rock, man. Because
I like that.
So many turnovers in the first couple of games, self-inflicted wounds are not going to fly when you have better competition coming in as an opposing team. I think it's a very hard team to prepare for from a scout. To your point about how the Big Ten is the best scouting league in the entire country, how do you prepare for a group that has 4 or 5 guys hitting double figures on any given night and still finding ways to win without the best player reaching his full potential offensively at the moment. So if
and with your best defender out right now.
right. So we'll see. And if you can limit the self-inflicted wounds, and you have guys that are only becoming more and more confident on any given night, don't beat yourself. And then at any point, you could have people that go above and beyond offensively to put you in positions to win. So Rutgers can finish in the upper echelon of the top half if they take care of the Rock. And I think that that's something that they'll be able to correct and fix going forward.
That's an absolute great point. That's the difference too. I mean, we're talking about how it gets messy in that top half of the Big Ten. I mean, you get 2 turnovers, that's 2 buckets. You know, and some of these games are decided by 2, 3 points, 4 points, and you know, me and you, I'm sure we both had those film sessions where you look back and coaches like, look, this turned it over in the first half at this point, or you know, you missed a little bunny layup here at this point, or you missed defensive assignment. And it's like all those little things add up to the loss column instead of the win column, and that's the difference between, you know, being 4th or 5th in the Big Ten and being 10th. Like it's that tiny of a window.
Splitting hairs. It's so nuanced and so difficult how, you know, very small plays and winning plays ultimately, you know, dictate overall outcomes in individual contests. And then the bigger picture of seeding when it comes to conference play and comparing different teams. Let me ask you this. We've already seen 2 to 3 different lineups and a lot of subbing. Guys that are getting in and playing a bunch of different minutes for this team. If we're at 3 starting lineups right thus far for Steve Peichel and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, at the end of the season, looking back, how many different starting lineups do you think that we'll have throughout this year?
Give you some Mowat.
Also got to consider Mowat coming back. You got to consider Emmanuel's influence. Yeah. Guys stepping their game up to different levels. Guys not getting as many minutes as they once were once conference play, you know, rolls around.
I think we see a lot, man. I think we see a lot. It seems like one of those seasons where it's going to take a little bit to figure it all out. I mean, Gavin is 100% going to be in the starting lineup again at some point. I have no doubt about that. Man, we could see I want to say 10, maybe. Yeah, I'd say 10 is probably the number. Just because most of these guys have already been involved. I mean, man, and they're starting Wolf right now too, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll stick with 10. We're at 3 right now.
Yeah.
3?
Hypothetically speaking, I'm not sure if that's a concrete figure, but I know that there's been a bunch of changes because Austin was hurt yesterday. Austin Williams was hurt too.
I think it is 3. I think we're at 3.
All right, 10.
We'll say 10.
That's
10. I'll say 10.
I was going to say 10 to 12, so I think that's a safe bet. Looking ahead at this schedule and some of the road wins, I think that's when the magic happens at the college basketball level, when teams can go in and gut it out and get crazy finishes in hostile environments. No trips out to West Lafayette this season to compete against Purdue, which is a bummer, but you got some other stuff on the horizon. Any game,
a bummer, but you don't want to play Purdue at the same time.
You do if you're getting dubs at the buzzer like last season, which was sick. That's a good point, though. That's the toughest place I think I've ever had to call a game.
That's a tough place to play, man. I mean, we've had our good run with Purdue, but it is a tough place to play. That's a hard place to play, man.
For sure. Any road games, and I'm gonna run through a list of some of the Big Ten specific road games that RU has this season. Columbus, Ohio for Ohio State, Iowa City for Iowa, East Lansing for Michigan State, which is a gauntlet, Champaign for Illinois, Ann Arbor for Michigan matchup, College Park for Maryland. Go out to Minnie. Oh, actually, you do go out to Purdue. I'm tripping. That's February 22nd.
You do go to Purdue. Okay.
I'm tripping on that, so you can cut that. You can cut that segment because I don't know what I was looking at initially. Which of those games you also have Nebraska and then Wisconsin as well towards the latter portion of the season? Where do you think, and this is no basketball X's and O's, included,
right.
Where RU could potentially spark up and, go out and get a crazy dub? Or what would you like to see considering your playing days and the significance of getting road wins in some of these tough environments?
where would I want to see them win at?
Yeah.
Michigan State, 100%. Because I never got a chance to win there, bro. Like, and we came close twice. My freshman year and my sophomore year, we were right there, and just couldn't get it. Cassius Winston, man, he he was too good.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
and
a tough place to
it's
play,
a fun
man.
place to play. Yeah,
It's a real
exactly.
tough place to play.
I always said that, like, I think Purdue, and obviously Jersey Mike's, Indiana, I think those three are probably the loudest. Michigan State is the most organized.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they will count the clock down wrong on you. Like, they get someone every year. I think they got Ron with it his freshman year. He was tight. He was tight because we told him before the game, like, look, they're gonna count it down because there'll be like 12 seconds left and they'll start counting down 3, 2, 1, and they'll get you. They get a freshman every year. They always get a freshman. So I already know Coach Pikes is gonna tell Gavin. He's gonna tell J. Mike, listen, this is what they're gonna do. But they're so organized with it that, like, you really believe, like, oh shoot, I only got 3 seconds, and you just throw up a prayer and it's an air ball. And so their organization is cool. The arena is great, and obviously they're always a really good program. So to be able to go on the road and beat Tom Izzo and beat Michigan State like that, that's something that I always wanted to do, and I didn't get a chance to do. So hopefully they can pull that one out, and that's like another piece of history that I didn't get a chance to accomplish. Which team though are you looking at that you want to see a win?
Respect on that, by the way, because that's definitely some mental warfare that takes basketball to a whole nother level. I would say Illinois, man, because I didn't play there, but every time that we go there, it's just been a battle. And I just think the way that their student section is positioned right there behind the bench, right up close and personal in the action. And they're always slated so early in the season for Rutgers, at least at home this year. But going out to Champaign is another beast in nature. So
that's a good one.
We'll see.
Never won there either.
We'll see. Quick transition here. I wanted to get your take, and I'll give mine. Best player in Big Ten, and then who's the best player nationally in all of college basketball? Starting off with the Big Ten, who you got?
I mean, I think my answer is the same for both, honestly. I got to go with Zach Edey. I mean, he's Zach Edey. I mean, everyone knows who he is at this point. I know Purdue obviously struggled at the end of the year last year, and they got enough hate for that, and it happened and it's over with. And I'm glad it was a Jersey team who beat them. But yeah, man, you got to go with Zach Edey. I think he's just so dominant, and he looks better. He looks even better than he did last year. I mean, he looks like his body looks better. He's moving better. He's been through all the battles. You know, whatever he couldn't do last year, which was pretty much nothing, he's figured it out, in my opinion. He makes free throws. He's just a tough cover. He's really hard to guard. Super dominant player, and I'm looking forward to seeing him. The one knock maybe is putting him in pick and roll action. That's the one thing that we always did to him.
Make him slide those feet.
Got it. Yeah, make him slide those feet. That's hard for him to slide. So that's the one little weakness that he has going on right now. But I mean, he's the best player in my eyes in the Big Ten and in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree in the Big Ten. It would be foolish not to give it to the reigning player of the year in the conference and nationally from that standpoint. But I'll differ in regards to the national player of the year landscape. Dare to be different, if you will. It's crazy that top 4 of the top 5 players are all bigs this season, so that's exciting. You got Armando Bacot coming back for UNC. But I'm going to go with a fellow former or a former Big Ten guy that's, I think, in the perfect system to be able to accentuate his different skill set. And Hunter Dickinson at Kansas.
Hunter Dickinson.
He's already been balling, man. Everybody knows Coach Bill Self's long track record of being able to develop bigs and get the most out of them. So I think that on that national stage and that program has big expectations tagged to them this season, that you'll see the very best out of him. Size and stature in regards to the measurables that he brings to the court. There's not really much with his back to the basket and his playmaking ability that I think he does that doesn't impact the game in a winning way. So I'll go with Hunter Dickinson and maybe Kyle Filipowski right afterwards.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, no, Hunter was definitely the other guy in my mind. I mean, I saw the game the other day, 27 and
Tough.
21. Like it's just a grown man, bro.
Tough.
That's a grown man playing with some kids. Like that's crazy.
Popping,
He was,
popping,
yeah, he
popping,
looked,
popping, talk crazy, popping shit crazy as
yeah,
well too, man.
yeah, and that's what he does. Like that's his personality. I love that shit too. I mean, he did that against us too, and that's always fun. That's what makes the game fun. So, I like that for sure. And yeah, man, he can hoop. So, yeah, I hear that.
All right, man. Well, good stuff. Really good catching up, man. Exciting times with everything from a sports standpoint at a consumer's disposal, from college basketball to NFL. It's the best time of the year in my opinion. Excited to see how RU progresses throughout the year and keeping tabs on the Big Ten and the national college basketball scene. So next episode, we'll be able to, dive in a little bit more, but appreciate you tuning in to episode 1 of the Are You Listening podcast here, season 2, brought to you by Beyond the Big Ten. And Geo, I'll catch you next episode, my guy.
Yes, sir. I'll see you soon, brother.